teachers care about our students, and I think that safety really is a priority. But with no disrespect to our panel, I would like to mention that bullying is a problem. Bullying is a big problem, and I've dealt with it. I've been a bully, to be honest, and I think that it's something that once you go home, it still happens because we have these, and it doesn't end at school. And so I think that is something that propels people to act out in a violent manner. I think we should have a psychologist at our school because not all students have access to mental health help outside of school. My second suggestion is that while I do love our officer, I don't think that one is enough. I think that we should try to find the funding to instead hire more police officers, whether they're retired or active, even correctional officers, and we should have them for every building that the school has. My school is big, my school has a lot of students, and it's spread out. And one officer is just not enough if there was somebody on campus who wanted to go out and just hurt somebody.
Unfortunately, you are correct. We do not have the trained personnel that we need at schools in terms of more counselors, more psychologists, more law presence. So what we need to do is work together so that when we actually see something, we say something.
Friends help friends through tough times. They don't hide the information for hope that they're not called a snitch later on or things like that. Friends help friends. If your friends are going through a difficult time, there are leaders in this community who want to reach out and help your friends. And if you're afraid as a teenager to help your friend and communicate that information out, then we're not preventing the possible problem from happening. That's our goal, is to try to get that person some help so that they don't carry out the act that they've been planning. But if we don't know about it, we can't intercede.
As a student, I don't think that our school is safe, and I don't feel safe going there much anymore. I don't think that just hiring counselors and psychologists is going to do the trick. While I do highly respect your suggestion there, I feel that our administration and our staff needs to be more interactive with the students than they are now. When we see them, we see like a force. They're just watching us, they're just monitoring us, they're just keeping an eye on us. They're not interacting with us, they're not wanting to know what we're feeling that day, they don't want to know how we're doing that day. Also, I want to address our drills. We have terrible drills, with all due respect. And our lockdown drills, we all huddle into a corner, and nobody takes them seriously. They play on their phones, no matter how much the teacher says, put them away, stop talking. People sit there, they talk, they take Snapchat videos, they post them. They're sitting there laughing and tickling each other, and couples are making out, and it's ridiculous because the teacher just sits there at their desk and they don't say a word about it because they don't know what else to do. They're just sitting there playing on their computer. If somebody were to come in that door and somebody were to have an automatic rifle of some sort, it would be so easy to take us all out.
In these types of situations, lockdown is not the appropriate action. It is leave and get out. Now, what does that leave at Maricopa High School? 2,100 kids running all over the place. So we call that organized chaos or disorganized chaos, however you want to call it. But it's going to be chaotic. And we have to have a tool, a mechanism to be able to talk to the police department so that we can round you up and reunite you with your parents who are worried about you. That is, on top of the initial bad act, the unknowing for the parent has got to be equally bad.
So to protect students in the schools, I think that the addition of an SRO or allowing faculty to be able to carry a concealed firearm is integral. Because if there was an active threat on campus, the first line of defense closest to the students is the teachers. And while I understand that not everyone wants the responsibility of protecting other people's lives, I do think that it needs to be an option. So, if we don't want to have allowing teachers to be armed, then at least we need to offer the training to our current security guards.
Currently, it's against state law for teachers to be armed. So state law, I suppose, would have to be changed. And then, of course, there's the funding thing, you alluded to that. And I understand that suggestion. I think it's an interesting one, possibly of arming our security guards, right? We have security guards who are not police officers. We have 5 of them. And I suppose that could be a possibility as well. But once again, that would have to be a state law change.
First and foremost, I have a daughter who teaches at a public school system. I asked her if she wanted to carry my gun, and she responded the way I would hope she would respond. She laughed at me. She's lived around a dad who has had to train not just with other police officers, but with military branches to train appropriately to make the correct use of force decision under the correct conditions. We have the responsibility to view the threat, determine whether the threat can carry out an action against us or someone else, and then respond accordingly. Now, with training, that happens fairly quickly. So when we get there, we're hearing the rounds going, we're smelling the smoke, we're hearing the fire extinguisher, or the fire alarm, we're hearing everything going off. When we bust into a room, if you've got a gun, guess what? I'm not asking whether you're a teacher or you're a bad guy. The rules of engagement change because it's now active shooting, of having such a tool in your hands with young people around. It is a tool in the hands of a trained person. It is a weapon in the hands of a wrong person.
I speak from past law enforcement experience. I'm a retired sheriff's deputy out of Collier County, Florida. And I am not for arming teachers with firearms in the schools. They have enough responsibility educating our kids that they don't need to be harnessed with the responsibility of carrying a firearm or having a firearm accessible to them in a schoolroom. That's just too much. Having it in law enforcement is enough stress.
Can the courts place youth and adults on probation if they make threats against a school, such as a school shooting? Or can there be a court-ordered mental evaluation placed on them, which would then, can the Maricopa Police Department then legally remove the guns from the house?
To answer your question, yes, but it has to be adjudicated by the courts. The courts have to adjudicate somebody in violation of the law to make them a prohibited possessor, whether it's a serious enough crime that occurred, which school threats can or sometimes do and sometimes don't. It depends on the prosecutorial aspect and the judicial aspect. So if it's high enough, yes, they can take it away. The mental health part of it, to have an involuntary committal, usually takes the help of a reporter. Somebody reports to the police department that this person is either a harm to themselves, imminent harm to themselves, or an imminent harm to someone else. And if the law enforcement gets involved, then we can involuntarily commit them to be adjudicated by a court. The only way we can take weapons away from anyone is if they're adjudicated by the court to do so.
And there's one other side to it. Somebody mentioned it out there earlier before you go. I think there's a personal responsibility aspect as well, okay? And I think that we would be remiss if we sat here and believed that we could solve the world's problems. If we could solve this community's problems, the 5, 6 of us sitting up here, it's not possible, folks. So there really is a personal responsibility that goes to each of us that is about what can we do to seek out that which is not right in front of us. It doesn't mean it's not here. And if it isn't here, then maybe it's your turn to start it. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of resources, and we need to work together to utilize them.